Hello everybody, Kismet here, dropping a guide on Satisfactory, one of my favorite games. This game is already an 11 out of 10 in early access. We're going to talk about Kismet's Rule of 8. I say we dive right into it. Now I've got a lower feed level here. Let's jump on down to there and let's look at our feed line, which is currently feeding in some iron ore at a rate of 240, though we're just going to use about 120 right now. And you can see it's feeding along these splitters, and they're going up these lifters into the smelters up above. Now we're really only going to deal with 4 smelters for right now, and those 4 smelters are producing our iron ingots, and we can see they're coming out here and running along this line. We're going to go ahead and follow this line and see where it goes. You can see the iron ingots are feeding their way up into the constructors up above. Let's go ahead and fly up above and let's look at constructor number 1. Constructor number 1 doing iron plates. Constructor number 2 doing iron plates. Constructor number 3 doing iron plates. Constructor number 4 doing iron rods. Constructor number 5 doing iron rods. Constructor number 6 doing screws. Constructor number 7 doing screws. Constructor number 8 doing screws. This is why I call it the Kismet's Rule of 8. 8 constructors. Once you understand this basic rule, you can apply it to the entire game and look for patterns in the game that make it easier to create a blueprint of stuff you can do over and over again. And since it's one of the first big hurdles in the game, this is a great one to start with. Now again, our iron ingots are feeding into the input side, and then on the output side here, we can see plates coming out of number 2, plates coming out of number 3. We can also see that our plates are being diverted upwards because they're going to run on their own separate line, because my end goal is plates and screws. Now the next 2 are rods and rods again, and you can see they're running now on the lower area because you don't want to mix your rods together. And then I'm diverting the rods to the input of the last 3 constructors. Those last 3 constructors are going to take those rods and convert them into screws, and you can see them outputting over here. All 3 are outputting screws. And now that we understand what those 8 constructors are made up of, and we understand what our output is, in this case plates and screws, we can go ahead and follow it down the line. And those plates and screws are going to end up over here by our assembler, and they're being fed up into our assemblers up above. Let's go up there and check it out. Now these 2 assemblers are being fed by that rule of 8. It'll actually run both of them at full speed. So we got one outputting 5 reinforced iron plates, and we have another one doing the same thing. So that's a total of 10 reinforced iron plates. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, Kismet, how does this help? Well, what you've done is you found an equilibrium in the numbers, and once you master the numbers and find that equilibrium, you can use that same template again and again. You'll want to look for these patterns throughout your playthrough, and the more you recognize these patterns, the more you work out how the numbers efficiently run. You can then just treat it like a blueprint and do it again and again and again. Now I'm a graphic designer, so we're going to take this to the next level. I'm going to show you exactly what I built here, but I'm actually going to show you in chart form. Some time ago I went in and made a piece for every single thing so I could chart it out. Let me show you exactly the input, output numbers, and the different stages to achieve this rule of 8. This way I can stimulate both the logic side of your brain and the creative side of your brain at the same time and take it to a whole nother level. Now the first thing we're going to do is look at input rate of our iron ore. Right now it's at 120. So I'm going to go ahead and move this down, and we're going to start with that. To make all the math work, our raw iron ore should be running at a speed of 120 per minute. So if we have 120 raw iron ore, we can divide that by 30, which is the input of our smelters, and that gives us 4. So we're going to need 4 smelters. And so we're going to use our 2-way splitter here to help us out. Now, at first, we're going to go ahead and make our input at 120, and it's going to go ahead and split 60-60. Let's go ahead and illustrate that. So the input of each of our smelters is going to be 30. So we just cut that in half again. Let's represent our numbers. 60 is our input. Notice the 3 lines. The 3 lines equal input, and then the green arrows equals output. Then we'll duplicate this on the other side. Let's go ahead and illustrate our connections. This one has a 60 output and then 6 input over here. The splitter then splits to a 30 output, 30 output, and so on. Now the iron ore is coming in at 120, split it into 60 and 60, and then splitting again into 30 and 30. Smelters are a 1-to-1 conversion, so they're 30 in and then also a 30 output, so that we know our output rate is the same as our original rate, which is 120. And now we'll go ahead and set up our rule of 8. So we're going to need 3 iron plates. There's 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to need 2 iron rods. We'll move our iron rod a little bit closer here. We'll go ahead and make a second one. And then we're going to need 3 screws. 1, 2, 3. Notice the inputs are different between iron plates, iron rods, and screws. Go ahead and do the connection. So we have 30 output here from our smelter going into our first constructor. We have 30 output from this constructor, third smelter coming out at 30, going in at 30. Now we have one that's left here that's 30 output, but our input of our iron rods are only 15. So let's go ahead and put a splitter in there. So let's go ahead and adjust these numbers. The input is going to be 30 from our smelter, and it's going to split in half. So we split that number in half into 15 and 15, and the math works out perfectly. And now we're producing 60 iron plates, 30 iron rods. And we've also used up all of our original ore. You might be thinking, Kismet, well, how are you going to create your screws? Screws are actually the next stage of your conversion. You have to convert them into iron rods first, then into screws. Just to make it easier for you to see, I'm actually going to take the screws and put them above the iron rods, just to make it a little bit easier for you guys to visualize. Next, what we're going to need is a two-way merger and a three-way splitter. We'll go ahead and put in our merger. Go ahead and correct these numbers so you can see how the numbers are flowing through. So it's going to be inputting 15, 15, and then 30 on the output. Now notice that's going to be 30. Go ahead and move these screws up just a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead once again and do our splitter. Our input rate is going to be 30, and it's going to beautifully split into 10, 10, and 10. Let's go ahead and run our lines to simulate our conveyors. And each of those is perfectly going to go into your screws. And you're going to have an output of 40 screws in each construct, which is going to equal 120 screws. Now let's go ahead and merge our output of this particular section. Each of these inputs are going to be 20. Let's represent our conveyors. We're running out of each constructor into the merger, and now we're running that out at 60. Let's do the same thing with our screws. Our screws are running out at 40. We add that up. 40 plus 40 is 80, and then 80 plus 40 is 20. So now we have 120 screws as our output. And let's illustrate each one of those. 40 out, going across a conveyor into a merger, then for a second time, and then a third time. And now we're ready to go into our assemblers. Our assemblers for reinforced iron plates are 30 input for our reinforced iron plates and 60 for our screws. Now, if you're more of a visual person, this is a great way to get started and to visualize the numbers. Now, what was our iron plate output? Let's go look. It's 60 down here. So we're going to take that 60 number and we're going to move it right up here, and we're going to cut that 60 in half. So our splitter output is going to be 30 and 30. Up here, we have an output of 5 reinforced iron plates per assembler. So that's going to be a total of 10 reinforced iron plates. Now we can take those reinforced iron plates and go ahead and merge them. So we'll say we're going to have 5 on each side of this merger, and then output is going to 10. And then we can run it into a container or to an industrial container. I prefer to use the industrial containers. And now you understand the rule of 8. Now, once you have a template down, you can then get another 120 raw iron ore, and now you're producing another 10 reinforced iron plates. Another. And you can continue to scale up your factory and rule this game. Again, my name is Kismet, so get out there and give this a try in your playthrough. Search for those patterns in the numbers, scale up your factory, and we'll see you all in the next one. Hey everybody, Kismet here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button right in the center of the screen. Also, check me out live on twitch.tv/Kismet. I'll see you all next time.